Test, test, test. Can you hear me now? Test, test, test. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, I can hear myself. Must be good. Good to go. I think we're good to go now. Yes? You can hear me? Ah, good, good, good. It took me 3 tries. I, the Bluetooth has to be off. I have Bluetooth um, earpieces, and I think that's what's screwing it up. So thank you for the patience. Don't forget the thumbs up, by the way. Uh, Joe Mama. Call you Joe. What's up, Joe? What part of the hey, come in, people, come in. I hope those are the people that were here before that couldn't hear me. Where are you residing from? United States Navy with the Marine Corps. That's why I'm in the Marine Corps Desert Cami. United States Navy provides medical support for the United States Marine Corps. So wherever you see Marines on the ground, you will find Navy corpsmen as well. Miss Alyssa, how are you, dear? And Melissa, where are you? It looks like you're a young child. Is that correct? Yes, you. I'm looking at your channel. You look like you're about 6 years old. What the heck? You see that hat? You mean my cover? What's up? Hey, there's Sherry. Welcome back, Sherry. United States Navy, 1999 to 2007, 8 years. Smokey, what's up, bro? Bad day? And where's your parents? Um, uh, um, um, Miss Alyssa. Were you wanting to say you old geezer instead of geyser? Uh oh, we got novels to read. Okay. Command. You know what? I actually forgot. It's 8 something something out of Point Magoo. It's Naval Reserve Command. Ventura County, Point Magoo, California. I am your neighbor. Don't shout. You're too noisy, uncle. You must be in India. Keep your head up, or Ryan. Coast Guard? No. United States Navy. Coast Guard doesn't have a digital cami. Desert cami. Marine Corps has the United States. I mean the digital cami. Smokey. Let's see. What was your comment? Hey, bro, proud of you. And now you're saying just kidding. I'm trying to follow everybody. Let's see. Every platoon in the United States Marine Corps, Scout Renaissance, have 11 Marines, one Navy corpsman, which is a cross between a medical doctor and a combat medic. I wouldn't say that. I'm trained at the paramedic level in the civilian world. That's what I brought into the Navy was my paramedic license. Dad was in the Army, moving from one place to another, such as, oh, California State Guard. Oh, I have no idea what that is. Ryan, sorry. Hoorah, Josh. Challenge me. Did you see the profile picture of the channel? Who is that in that profile picture? You recognize the cover that guy's wearing in my profile picture? Do you recognize the guy wearing that cover? Possibly. Check yourself there. Josh. Igloo. Igloo. Beard Wing. What's up, bro? I have no idea what Spirit Deboo. Look at my PFP profile picture. Is that what that is? Let's see. Don't get bent out of shape. No, you're just getting embarrassed now because you put your foot in your mouth. Yes, Beardwing. No, I didn't say I was a basic EMT. I said I was a paramedic. That's advanced life support. pediatric advanced life support, and advanced cardiac life support. No, Kenny, not a Navy commander. No, I think it's not jumping to conclusions. They're just behind a keyboard and they can. Oh, San Luis Obispo. That's where my duty station was there, bro. Well, just about Point Magoo, just short of San Luis. A good friend of mine is a park ranger there in San Luis Obispo. Hoorah, Ryan. Cool um, goal. Cool plan. Um, Wait, befuddled, erased a message. What was, oh, there it is. Jacob. Look at my profile picture. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. What is that? It's a troll with a weird mouth, missing teeth. Josh, oh, is that why you're responding that way, Josh? Because you have PTSD? The way it was. RK, what's happening? United States Navy Justice. Thank you, guys. Oh, don't forget the thumbs up, by the way, if you didn't already. No years in the Marine Corps. United States Navy, 7 years. I served with the Marines, 2004, 2005, hence the cover. Went to Iraq with the 123 Marines, 2004, 2005. What war did you serve in? OIF, OEF. Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom. Johnny. Okay, yes, Navy support Marines, very cool. Josh, alcoholism. Oh, that's your defense now, Josh? Alcoholism. Try me. What's up? Good morning. Halo Wars. Beardwing, you're back. I have heroic eyes. Well, that's a first. Yabba dabba doo. What do you think? What do I think about that? Coffee. Wait, I got mine. Oh, I'm out. RK. I got some. Oh my! What happened to my camera? Got kind of twisted. Hold on a second. Oh no, that ain't gonna work. No, that ain't gonna work either. What the heck? I had it all lined up before, and now I'm out of the picture. How's that? Better? Better, I guess. In a rap battle. Thank you, Josh. Mm. Wait, don't leave, people. I see people leaving. Stay in. And what's everybody doing up so late, or are they up early? What's your excuse, people? Are you in the US and up early, or haven't been to bed yet, like me? I haven't been to bed yet. My hours are all backwards. Justice, I take it you're a guy. All respect. Thank you for serving. Hoorah, that one guy. Praise God for the military. Oh, 500. Okay, you must be. Hey, Stace. Where are you? Wisconsin, Minnesota, Midwest, somewhere. Where are you? Johnny, don't leave. You would have enlisted, but if a drill sergeant got in my face, I'd be like, bro, I'm a Reddit moderator. Dresden, Ontario, Canada. Well, you're right above me. 10-hour drive, 8-hour drive, something like that. I'm down in New Jersey, USA. Stacy, what did you say? Oh, Minnesota. Oh, I was right. Didn't I say Minnesota? Wisconsin, Minnesota, something like that. And you're going to Arkansas. What are you going to do in Arkansas? You know what? That light is awfully bright. Oh, a little better. That's not bright enough. No, wait, hold on. Yeah, that's better. I'm kidding when I say Arkansas. Arkansas. Live there. He says, I guess, the best gun laws. Cosmo Gamer. And let's see, I'm zooming in. I can zoom in on the 16-inch TV. So it gets really big. Serial, what's up, bro? You know what? I don't like that. That's too yellow. There, that's white. That's better. Should it be brighter? Wait a minute. Whoa. Is that better? What's up, Fat? What do you think about former Fox News reporter drunk in charge of the military? Never heard about it. Navy has the best toys? No, that's Army. Army is the research and development of the military. Pete. Oh, what about Pete? He was a former Fox News reporter? Pete Hexes was? America. Stacy. Oh, what were you saying about World War II? Era Marines? Oh, okay. Oh, did everybody hit the like? He was a former Fox News reporter. Pete Hexes was? That was fired for drinking on the job and drugs. No idea what you're talking about. Sorry. Eddie's. Colonel Mustard. That was my favorite game piece. I always loved to be Colonel Mustard. You're revealing your age when you say that. Secret. No, Jeebus. Jeebus. United States Navy Corpsman, former United States Navy Corpsman. The Marine Corps calls us Doc, hence the name. Attention. I like how you wrote that. Vietnam, no. No, I'm not old enough. Navy. Were you in the military or Navy? Sorry, Laura. I thought you were trying to be funny, but I had to laugh. Uh, Grandfather, retired colonel, I call him Colonel Mustard. You were deployed to Gettysburg. Now you're old. Talk nasty to us. Nasty, 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 nasty. How's that? This is for you, Palad. Nasty, 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 nasty. Say that 10 times. It's kind of hard. Desert Storm or Iraq? Iraq. OIF, OEF. That's from Sideways. What's Sideways? Sorry. That's Y-O-U-R-E. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Laura. Laura May. Oh, it's a movie? Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. What's up, Adam? You know, I still don't like the way I've got myself lined up when I lean back. I'm trying to get the plant in the picture, but and not have a white pole sticking out of my head. Oh well. I'm struggling. Iraq, Kuwait, and Djibouti. Ever wear a dress? My dress blues and my dress uniform. That's an oxymoron, by the way. Dress uniform. Like, when do people wear a dress for a uniform? Think he would side with Netanyahu and Trump committing genocide? Oh, gosh. The trolls have arrived. You look great in high heels. Why is that funny? Stacy is your girlfriend. Oh, you're not Stacy. Wait, are you both together now? It was Stacy before talking about her boyfriend. Now it's Stacy is my girlfriend, so that must be the boyfriend. Stella. What's up, Stella? Did everybody hit the like button? Yeah? I'm trying to arrange myself. There we go. More in the picture. $19.99 to $19.99. U.S. Amri. In Bosovo. Oh, sorry. You were using her phone. Oh, now that's the boyfriend is Dep 304ville. I do believe in God still. Jesus Christ, his only begotten Son. State of Israel. If you were living in the same time as Jesus. Okay. I wouldn't have needed to ensure the crucifixion was a success. It would have happened whether or not I tried to prevent it or help it out. T.O. What's going on, dude? Stella, United States Navy Corpsman. Wait, Stacy, what? What's a game he plays? Is that the Dep 304ville? That's a game. Son of God, like Hercules, weak version, died from bullying the befuddle. He was supposed to be crucified. If hypo Christians ever bothered reading the Bible, he was supposed to be crucified. He was crucified. Raptor, just like how many pairs of high heels does an ABHU guy? Thank you, Laura. Laura May Winkler. I was just staying still. You thought I froze? Like, Stella Funky. Imagine how Mother Mary worshipped her child. God forbid if she worshipped her child. Hopefully she worshipped Jesus Christ. Actually, what did I just say? Did you hear what I just said? Yeah, that was stick foot in the mouth. Yeah, hopefully she worshiped God and not her child. A good froze post. Pose, P-O-S-E. Oh, I was using her phone to be funny. That's the game. Okay. Oh my goodness. Adam, third time's a charm. Try again. Does Mother Mary, wait a minute, Mother Mary, why are you capitalizing Mother and Mary? Actually, you can capitalize Mary, but Mother is not a proper noun. So. Remind me of my grandpa. He was a German soldier. His name is Ron. He jokes a lot like you. Uh, but that's inaccurate, though. Mother is not a title. It might be the title of a book or something, but Mary doesn't deserve a title other than Mary. She was a woman just like any other woman who happened to be chosen to bear God's only begotten Son. But other than that, what was she? She was a poor shepherd's wife. And she needed to believe in her own child that he was God's only begotten Son, just like anybody else. Just like her husband, just like me, just like you. Which she did. She understood who he was, other than her son. That's right. She's just Mary. Yep. Yeah, but she doesn't deserve that title, Mother Mary. I'm not called Father Gary with a capital F. There's only one capital F Father. That's God. But my father isn't Father MacKay with a capital F. You see? She's not capital M mother. She's no different than any other mother. See, that's the mistake, and I'm biting my tongue to not mention those that refer to her as Mother Mary with a capital M. I think you can read between the lines. Yeah, I know what spoon probably fed you or your family fed you and why you're referring to her as Mother Mary. But now that you know that she was no different than any other mother, um, you might question, so why do they call her Mother Mary then? There's no reason for it. It's inaccurate. No, it's not beliefs. We don't have different beliefs. I mean, it isn't based on what I believe to be true. That's common sense. That's English language. I mean, that's English comprehension. It's not a belief. It's a mistake. It's not true. It doesn't need to be. Laura May Winkler, I can tell you're trying to tell them, but they keep on. I know how you feel, but it also gets annoying. Sorry, Laura. If you want to run the live stream, come on up. Mary is indeed blessed to be chosen by God. However, she was human, just like everyone else. To pray or lie in any way is wrong. Hoorah, Omega. An M1 Garand. My religion? I don't. I'm a Christian. Christianity is not a religion. It's the truth. That's okay, Deb. They're occupying my time and improving the algorithm. That's right, Omega. That's it. That's the truth. Another misunderstanding by secular world is all beliefs are religions. They're not. Religions are men wanting to do good enough to please God. The truth, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any work to please God. What is required to be good enough, we can't do. So that's why he sent his only begotten Son to do what we couldn't do. And he said, now that I've done it, believe in me. And I'll give you another chance to live again, but this time forever, once you take your last breath. You see, that's why Christ came, because we can't do what he did. But religions are trying to do something. They don't understand what Christ already did. He already did the hard work. He did the supernatural. And we can't do that. See, it's really simple when you understand it finally. You're like, oh, I get it. What's required for us ever to be in his presence again, we can't fix. Not by ourselves, we can't. And God knew that. So what did he do? He sent his only begotten son. You see, the first Adam, the first man, he died. I'm sorry. Because of his sin, we're experiencing death. Okay, due to one man's sin, all have sinned. It's because of his mistake that we're dying. For the wages of sin is death. A wage, is what your employer pays you, or what you deserve. So what we deserve is death. Because of what? Because of sin. The wages of sin is death. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. So the second Adam is, Jesus Christ is referred to it as the second Adam. But through the second Adam, we can obtain life the other way around. Instead of dying, we can live again through him, and only through him. Why? Because he defeated death. Because he defeated death, we have life. That's the opposite. Going back the other direction. Going back to where we started. You see? So that's why God had to send himself, his spirit, in a human being. Because it started in a human being. Sin originated in a human being. Therefore, sin has to be defeated in a human being in order to obtain life. Get it? Monte Cristo, God's daughter. And if I didn't see you come in, I'm sorry, I can't follow. But it looks like there's quite a big turnout this morning. Bye, honey. Tell Jordan to drive careful. Omega, that's not you, Mike, is it? Whitekovsky. No, it's not. It's, is the word ironic correct? That you said that. When I was just at the neighbor's, first time in the neighbor's house, they invited me in, we had coffee and ended up speaking about everything. And then somebody brought up the Word of God, and then we just went off on that for the next 2 hours. And he said almost word for word what you said. That it's easier to believe in God and find out he doesn't exist than to live not believing in God and finding out he does exist. He said exactly that. That's like, wait a minute, are you Mike? Oh, I am from James. What? From James. I am James from Monterey, California. Yeah, watch the racket. That was the ice maker on the refrigerator. Hey, I appreciate you coming in, Omega. It's quite a blessing to see and hear somebody that understands and can help share the good news as well. John 14:6, yeah. John 3:16, John 14:6, those are both good verses. Adam, Johnny Black Ice. Henry Mack, uh, rough, rough morning. What the, are these chats? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm just reading them now. So the top three things that we chat about, or that are chatted, oh my gosh, chatted about, are talked about on the channel are the military, emergency medicine, and the Word of God. So any of those things spark your interest or have anything to elaborate on? Family members or personal experience? What was that? In the military? Um, or anybody a nurse or family member a nurse or doctor, or in emergency medicine, pre-hospital emergency medicine. Are you talking about my cover, Adam? Oh yeah, it brings out the trolls. It um, does all kinds of things. Are you proud to have been an American soldier and robbed another country in that official uniform? Funky, I think you were here before. I mean, I'm stationed in South Korea at the moment. Cool, dandy. Don't tell me. United States Air Force. Am I right? There that comment is again about Douglas MacArthur. I know I look nothing like Douglas MacArthur. No, it wasn't a guess. That was an educated guess. I have a ex-brother-in-law that is stationed in South Korea in the United States Air Force. Terry Eusebio. I don't know if he's probably retired now. Yeah, I would say he is, because he was in when I was in the Navy, and that was 20 years ago. So, nope. After Gulf War, there, Josh. Give you a piece of advice. Sure. Get to know the truth before you take your last breath on this earth. Very first thing. If you haven't right now, Google it. What is the truth? Capital T. And, or better yet, ask, what is the way, the truth, and the life? And if you don't already know, and you still can't make heads or tails out of what it's trying to say, have somebody try to explain it to you before something happens and you leave this earth. Gulf War syndrome. Well, I met the wife of a husband who suffered from Gulf War syndrome, and they were advocates of that initial term, Gulf War syndrome. And you can actually see them in the movie Thanks for a Grateful Nation. What is a Bible verse, Scuba? Sorry, it's hard to, Scuba, what did you say? What's a Bible verse? You'll have to retype it because I can't see it right at the moment. Yeah, the wife of a husband. Delta 22 combat medic for my team. At Henry Mac. One way, hey brother, you're back. You're amidst the flow of visitors that came in pretty quickly. That was nice of you all to come in. Oh, don't forget the thumbs up, people. Henry Mac, why he cute. Private Goomer. Okay, Pookie. Scuba, what was a Bible verse? Sorry. I'm scrolling back. I don't see your entry of a Bible verse. Sorry. APM, Honda, stop now. Drill, baby, drill. Like P. Diddy. Funky. T6W. I have to fix something here. God, I hope I didn't inadvertently put somebody on timeout. That thing just popped up in this Xbox. Team Observatory, Hong Kong. Kumusta? All the way from Hong Kong. We got a blue jacket. Hey, Johnny, do me a favor, dude. Clean that up. All right? I'm starting to kind of get perturbed about you using those words, and I'm gonna eject you, but you can avoid that by just cleaning that comment up or stop using that. I know you are able to speak normally, like some of us. The shadow of death, Adam. When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Is the Lord your shepherd? If he is, the very last verse, surely goodness and mercy shall follow thee all the days of your life. That's why you're still alive. And the second part, ye shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's after you take your last breath. That's a win-win proposition. You get to experience the benefits now while you're still alive and after you take your last breath. That's a no-brainer. I raised my hand and said, I want to be part of that. I want some of that. I want to be able to do that. What do I got to do? He said, believe in me. Believe in the Lord. Who is that? Jesus Christ. Johnny David Skaggs. Yep, yep. Cranagio. 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 Okay. That's okay. That's all right, bro. I'm reading it. You're catching my attention. What's your grandfather's name? David. I gotta scroll back here. What's your? Is that David? David is your grandfather's name? Hi G. I'm not even gonna try to hi G. I'm gonna hi HYGV. Look at all the people. Thank you, guys, gals. Don't forget the thumbs up. Orphan, David Skaggs. Oh, that's your grandfather's name? Let's get some coffee. What do you think? You guys want some coffee? I got some Black Rifle, um, Beyond Black Coffee by Black Rifle Coffee Company, BRCC. It's a veteran-owned company. Sound good? Will they hire me? Who, the military? No, it's Beyond Black. Beyond Black coffee. I'll take the the light ring and the phone holder. I think I'm all charged. I probably can handle. Yeah, I'm at 88%. I could. Let's go make some coffee. You want to make some coffee, guys, gals? Uh, Adam, you try coffee from my home country, Panama. Panamanian geisha coffee with Trump American coffee. Probably would. I like the Trump American coffee. How ironic, huh? 50 bucks for 8 ounces? Oh, more caffeine? Oh, I just want the taste though, coffee, and I put a bunch of cream. I'm a have a little bit of coffee with your cream kind of guy, and I sweeten it, with like one Splenda and a teaspoon of honey. A teaspoon of honey. Wow, look at all these comments. That's pretty. Yeah, about Trump coffee. No, he used Panamanian coffee, geisha, with Trump American coffee, small T Trump. And I just said, how ironic that you used Trump in front of that. Trump American coffee. No, no sweetener in coffee for you. You just straight black. The 54th state. No, it's Venezuela is wants to be the 51st state. I was just watching that Latino YouTuber. He speaks both English and Spanish. He's over in Venezuela right now with that other YouTuber. He's Greek, but he speaks Spanish as well. Um, Forget his name. And there's another British guy with them. guy from the UK, and the three of them are in Venezuela right now. Spicy noodles. King Trump. So I had to remind him Panama in the Army, 1989, Panama coffee is better. Would he be deported? Funky. Omega. You look like you fought in Vietnam. What do people look like that fought in Vietnam? Hoorah. Rah, second class. Get some Navy. Rah. Oh, that's your Marine Corps cannon. Praise God. I love it. When's the last time you got to say that? Are you active now or are you former military? Cannon. Hoorah. Oh, there he is. Cannon. Semper Fi, Doc. You know what? It gives me, I literally get goosebumps when I read somebody that actually knows what he's talking about, that was a United States Marine, and says that to me. It's quite the honor to have been with you guys. Really. It's, I don't know, something I guess you have to have been there and done that to, to understand. Pretty cool, the tradition that came from being, a corpsman, being providing medical support for the Marine Corps. Speaking of magic, would you guys like to see some magic? Like some real prestidigitation? Well, better than I deserve, brother. On your cap is, well, take a screenshot or a picture and then throw it in Google and see what it tells you. The Marine that just popped in here, Cannon, he'll be able to tell you. Oh, that's cool, Cannon. 0311, there it is. Now, that's one thing I didn't memorize or get. I didn't spend enough time with you guys to, become second nature. But your MOSs, I'm still learning about them. I think I need some coffee. Oh, just to let you know, Deb, it's a United States Navy um, eagle with the two chevrons to signify petty officer second class. Two of them is second class. But first class and third class are reciprocal. They're backwards. So third class petty officer, you would think would have three chevrons to represent, third class, but it's not. It's only one chevron. And then second class is exactly what it says, two. But first class petty officer, that's three chevrons. So it goes backwards. One, two, three. For third class, second class, first class. No point on Israel. I don't know enough to give a opinion or assessment on Israel. As far as current events, so. Eagles are predators like crocodiles. They live by eating the weak. My little brother's in the Marines. Is it true sometimes they have to do some gay stuff to belong? What? Where did that come from? Oh my God. Let's see. We need to wipe out who? ISL, or is that supposed to be ISIS? Shalom. When will America deploy for Israel? When I'm guessing when Netanyahu asks. Who cares about any of this? Now here I am, the host, and you guys are entertaining me. I'm just reading the comments. We always said we could mess with the doc. Lord help someone not in the platoon messing with our doc. That's true. Here, I got a true story though, and it's a kind of unfortunate, Canon, on that comment about Lord help someone not in the platoon messing with our doc. Check this out. And nothing against the Marines that I encountered, but it was a first experience with that very thing. But I'm a fellow doc, and I got approached by 8 Marines defending their platoon doc because I was about to hit their doc in the mouth. I swear, it was at the chow hall at the Haditha Dam, inside the dam. We were having chow, lunch, in line, waiting. And the doc that I was shadowing, he was showing me the ropes because I was going to be a field corpsman. I was at the BAS initially, and then they started getting shorthanded, so they needed docs out in the field. So I was assigned to him to follow him, to shadow him. We ended up getting deployed to Aditha Dam because the other half of our battalion went on a mission into, I believe, into Fallujah, or wherever they went. They left, so they decided that Haditha was more important than Fob Heat, where we were occupying that the second half of our battalion. So we went there to replace them. While we were there, I was hanging out, trying to get lunch, and I don't know what it was, but we got into a little friction argument, the other corpsman, and he was being stupid. And I got in his face, and I think I ended up popping him really hard. And as soon as I did that, it was like, whoa! I swear, 8 Marines just surrounded me and didn't have a very good affect about them, And the corpsman's over there kind of just half smiling like, well, what do you think about that? And I looked at him and I started calling him a pussy and why don't you handle your own business, bro? But those Marines, they were like all over me. Yeah, it wasn't a very good, I was pissed because I wanted them to handle his own stupidity, and he called 8 Marines on me. I don't know if you heard all that. Yeah, he was kind of a, and he's a fellow shipmate, but it don't matter, a dick's a dick when you're a dick. Um, oh my God, Funky, where are you coming from, dude? Untrue. Yeah, the pawns of the American president. No, we're not. We volunteered. We volunteered to do this. You see, we volunteered. So it's our doing that we are in that position, not the president's, not Congress. Anyway, Dallas, thanks, brother. So anyhow, um, I have no comment on that, Demir. I I don't know. I don't have an opinion. That seems to be like the most common type of question that service members are asked, either before, during, and after a deployment, or peacetime, wartime, and after a deployment is, so what do you think about whether or not you should have been there? Or like this question, would you say Afghanistan was a success for the USA? It's like, listen, I'm a Navy corpsman. Okay. I provide medical support for the Marine Corps and the United States Navy. I used to. That's my job. Okay. I signed my name on the dotted line to let the president and those over me make decisions to what they want to do with me. Whether right or wrong, I signed my name on the dotted line to do that, to provide medical support to the United States Navy, actually to the entire United States military, because if they brought me an Air Force or Army guy, we'd treat them just like anybody else. So I signed my name on the dotted line to provide that care or that medical support to anybody, friendly or foe. All right. So as far as what do I think about whether or not I should be, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. It doesn't, it makes no sense. It's like, I really don't even, I don't pay attention to that. My job, what I get excited about is providing medical support or medical care for somebody. I love sticking needles in people. I love looking for big fat external jugular veins. See that big fat one right there? And sticking a needle in that. I like putting a blade in your mouth and putting a tube down your oropharynx into your trachea and inflating a balloon so that it doesn't come out, and then attaching a bag on the end of it and ventilating for you if you're not breathing. I love that. That's what we get all excited about. So you can ask me those types of questions and I can answer, in detail. I'll get all animated about it. But as far as why I was there at that war, I could care less. It doesn't matter to me. I'm there to do two things: do my job and to get home. Actually, that's the job of the military. That's their priorities: to train and to get them home. So as far as why we were there, that's moot. Kidding. And how much Motrin? What do you call Motrin? Vitamin M? How much? What's the going dose? Drink water. And when you're done drinking water, drink some more. Oh my gosh. It's so cool to have you in here. Oh, by the way, you're not alone. We've been getting a lot of veterans in here lately. United States Marines, Navy, Army, Special Forces. Most common injury, where or when, Chaz, sorry. At war? I can answer that, at least in my experience when I was over there. I'll tell you what the most common injury was. At war, lumps, bumps, and bruises. It's true. These Marines do some stupid stuff. But we trip and I shouldn't just say Marines. Everybody trips and falls. It's like the most. And they end up getting lumps, bumps, and bruises. And pulled muscles. Well, that's part of lumps, bumps, and bruises. But that we treated more of that than anything. Oh, and it was flu season while we were there. So a lot of guys got sick. I'm serious. Cold. They got a cold or they got the flu. Yep. T.O., you're back. Yeah. Sprained ankles. That's lumps, bumps, and bruises. Had one guy fall on his M16 and the butt went, I'm sorry. Where did it hit him? It hit him in it lacerated his scalp, and scalps bleed like a pig. He was bleeding all over the MWR room. That's the Marine Welfare and Recreation, where we had our phone landlines and our laptops when they were working. He came in and tripped over the entryway, and his M16 hit him in the head and lacerated his scalp. He was bleeding all over the place. We took him to the BAS and he got stitches. Like, what the heck? Funky, who are you, dude? I gotta zoom in on your photo here. Where are you from? Is that you in the photo? Or is that just some random profile picture? Yeah, what flavor crayon is your favorite? Salty. Oh, Saute and the rest of you, it just came in, spicy noodles. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like for me. Thank you, bro. Howdy doody. Over the pants, handy. They taste like fruit punch. Dallas, Jerry, praise God for the military. So, I always ask, where's everybody um, located right now? Patricia. Oh, I haven't gone to bed yet again. Patricia, imagine that. So it's late to me. You know what? I need more coffee. Come on, Monterey. Let's go get some more coffee. I've got plenty of battery. I'm up to 97. Well, that's good. And what do you think? I got enough charge in the light to make it to the kitchen? Alexa, turn on the kitchen. Come on, let's go. Let's go get some coffee. Hold on. Whoa, look how close that is. I need to zoom back a bit. What happened to the coffee? I mean, the kitchen. Oh, someone shut it off with a switch here. All right. Let's make some coffee. Let's see if I can point it over here to the coffee maker. Where is it? There it is. Kind of half here. Let's see. Maybe I can zoom back. There we go. And there we go. Alrighty. So that's beyond black here. That's the the light is pretty reflective there. Beyond black, it's kind of hard to. Yeah. Okay. Enough. So that get another one in there. Turn it on. Got plenty of water. What else? Ladies, gentlemen. 0351 Dragons, United States Marine Corps. What's 0351, Dallas? Educate me. Is that a 0351? What is that? Mortars? Or I'm guessing. Or is that a machine gunner? Okay, I have no idea. Did I ever need to drain a hemothorax? I have. I actually, well, it wasn't, yeah, we're going to call it that because I had a gunshot wound below the left clavicle out in the civilian world. This was not out in the field. And I couldn't hear any lung sounds on the left, so I put two and two together and figured, well, that bullet hole is causing the problem. So I put a 14 gauge in his subclavicle, that's between the third and fourth rib, intercostal space, with a 14 gauge catheter. And I hooked up a suction machine, and I ended up filling up 2,000 cc canisters, suction canisters, before I got to the ER. And when the doc heard that and saw that, he's like, "That's not good." I said, "He's bleeding out." It ended up hitting his artery, and bleeding into the pleural space of that left side of his lung. And that guy didn't survive. They ended up cutting him open, cracking his chest there in the ER, and trying to help him, but he bled out pretty much before. And it was a short trip. We were pretty close to the ER, less than 20 minutes. And I actually had a paramedic student, and I was encouraging him to do it because an opportunity like that doesn't present itself very often in a paramedic's career. And he was like, no, it's okay. You're doing great. And I thought, that sucks. You're a student, dude. You should jump on every opportunity. So he didn't score any brownie points by denying that opportunity. Wasco, or Waco, Texas. Oh, anti-tank unit. Cool. Kenny. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. In this case, coffee. So what's up, Patricia? What's new? How are you doing? Something. You're good? Okay, here we go. Second pour here. Here, let me okay, you don't need to watch the coffee. I'll put myself up here, so. Where's my creamer? Okay, got my coffee. And don't laugh about how much cream I put in my coffee, but I put 2 heaping spoonfuls here. And then about a teaspoon of honey. There we go. And 1 Splenda. And that's it. Oh, I just discovered the neighbor when they put together a cup of coffee for me yesterday. I told him how the wife was asking how I liked it. I said lots of cream and sweet. She said she liked it the same way, so she made it the way she drinks it, and it turned out to be absolutely the bomb. And I tasted something in it that I didn't recognize, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is delicious. What did you put in there?" And she's like, "Oh, that's Coffee Mate. I mean, yeah, Coffee Mate coconut creamer." And I went, "Oh my gosh." I don't like normally flavors with my coffee, like almond or, all those different sweeteners. But this coconut cream, wow, so good that I'm going to order some and keep it in my refrigerator. The stuff is the bomb. Perfect. It goes perfect with, at least I think, that coffee, baked coffee aroma and taste. So anyhow, yeah, I discovered something new. And I'm sure it's been out there all along, but I never tried it. Well, I have now, and I'm sold. So, okay. Oh, that's awfully close. Maybe I could zoom in a little more, Gary. How about that? Okay. So what did I miss? Sorry, guys. Coconut creamer is delicious. It is. Gosh. Gaslight gatekeep girl boss. Prague. I got a good friend from the Czech Republic now, Czechoslovakia, Eric Mikuska. Worships Christian faith, Jesus Christ Almighty, and love neighbors. Do you know what? Do you know what that verse is referring to? By the way, gaslight. Just now that you brought it up, I got to talk about it because it's perfect. It's the 2 commandments now. Instead of the 10 commandments, it's now 2 commandments. That's Matthew 22:37 through 40. And you just said it. Well, you referred to it, referenced it. And that is, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is like unto the first, and that is, love thy neighbor as thyself. So what is the first commandment? love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and mind. Okay? How do you love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind? You got to know about, first and foremost, you got to know who he is, right? So if somebody doesn't know who God was, why he even put us here, what our purpose is here. Uh-oh. My son is home. Yeah, I hear the garage door. And why he sent his only begotten son, that's the first and foremost. You need to know that, like today, if you don't know. And then second, with all your heart, soul, and mind, right? You're to love the Lord thy God. So you got to, in order to get to know something or someone, you might just need to study about him, right? And so that's the very first commandment. Study the word of God. Wrap it around your mind. Feel it. Make it part of your life. It's not something you just do on Wednesdays and Sunday mornings, Wednesday night, Sunday mornings, or etc. Study his word. Okay, that's the very first and great commandment, right? The second is like unto the first, and that is love thy neighbor as thyself. So it's referring to what you did at the first in the first commandment. What God has done for you, and or what you know about him. So now you're going to tell other people, your neighbor, about him. Get it? The second commandment is like unto the first. Love thy neighbor now. First, it's you loving the Lord thy God. Now you're going to take that love and you're going to tell your neighbor. So you're going to share the gospel is what that's referring to. First and foremost, get to know who he is. Understand why he sent his only begotten son. Study his word. Wrap it around your brain. Learn about it. Get to know who he is. Have a relationship with him. And then the second thing, now that you know who he is, go and tell somebody else about him. Why? Because it was good for you, wasn't it? So go share it with someone else. That's the two commandments now. And then when you're done sharing it with somebody else, go back to number one. Study his word some more. Get refreshed. Revitalize yourself. Because when you start sharing the word with other people, I guarantee you, ask other Christians in the channel, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get beat up. You know, if not physically, you're definitely going to get beat down mentally. Okay, because 90% of the people that you share the news with, the good news with, isn't good to them. And they're going to shut the door in your face. They might even physically, come at you. So when you're done trying to share the good news with somebody, go back and revitalize yourself. How do you do that? Get into his word. Study his word some more. Open his book. Read it. Study it. Break it down. Dissect it. Define it. And then when you're revitalized, go out again. You got your ammunition resupplied. You go out and try again. Share it with other people. That's what it's all about. That's our two commandments now. Not to forget about the first 10, but you've got two new ones. That's what it's all about. That's what God asks us to do now. Believe in him. Go tell other people about him. That's Matthew 22:37-40. That's it, West. Yeah, it's not just treating. I clarified already what that's referring to, but don't misinterpret that as just going out and being nice to other people. Because if they end up getting hit by a car, for example, worst case scenario, you're over there being nice to somebody, you're doing what some of these YouTubers do, and they pay it forward, and they're just doing good deeds for other people, right? But you never shared the gospel with them, and they end up losing their life on the way home. What good did your goodness do for them when they didn't even get to know who Christ was? And they end up in a place that they deserve instead of having another opportunity to live again, all because you thought you were doing good for them. It isn't what that verse is saying. The verse is saying, it says, the second is like unto the first. Well, what did you do? What did the first verse say? I already explained it. You got to know who God was, and you accepted that he sent his only begotten son. You believed that in the beginning God created, and that he sent his only begotten son, and that whosoever believeth in him should not perish. Okay? You learned that. And now take that and share it with your neighbor. That's the good that he's asking you to share. Not good works. Remember, doesn't work. And that's a good example of that. Doing good works for somebody doesn't keep them out of hell. You see? Solomon said it the best. Read his testimony in Ephesians. It's all vanity. Works is all vanity. What does vanity mean? It means nothing. It's exactly what it means. Nothing. It's all nothing. That's why the very first thing that somebody needs to do is believe in God and his only begotten son. Very first thing. Why? Because what if you lose your life and somebody didn't share the gospel with you? At least give you an opportunity to understand and accept it. That's it. That's the good news. That's why they call it the good news. So that makes sense. It makes total sense to me. Um, Let me scroll back a bit. I'm sorry. It's hard to read and be passionate about speaking about something. Um, Let me scroll back and just read some of the comments here. Well, it looks like the conversation is kind of all over the place. Funky's still at it. Any cricothyrotomies? Chaz, hold that thought. Yes. Been very blessed to have had an opportunity to at least do what is very rarely performed in the field in a paramedic's career. Actually got to do two of them. Yep. Hold on. I'll tell that story here. Great that you're bringing it up, though. I get to speak about the Word of God, emergency medicine, and or the military. And so far, we're kind of covering all bases, aren't we? And that was an earlier comment, but I'm scrolling here. Uh, And again, forgive me if I don't address your question or your comment. I'm reading everything from Rambo was only handsome in the movies to um, HVTK Spicy's comments. Uh, what's the difference between me and the Greek pagans? Oh, that's funky. You guys, dude, what are you on? Do you have any more? Canon, Doc, are you a traveling man? As in, like, whenever I get a chance, I love to travel. Thanks, Josh. Oh, so anyway, who was it that asked about the cricothyrotomies? It's an opportunity to tell stories as well. I got some good ones. Okay. The very first time I got to attempt that, I was successful, but we didn't have. If you ask me the name or the brand name of the crike kit that we carried in our ambulance, it was in Delano, California, a more rural area of Central California in the San Joaquin Valley. Um, had a motor vehicle accident where a man in a full size van. It was like a, I don't know, a utility van where it was all empty and he had electronic stuff I think in the back. And motor vehicle accident, ended up on its side. Uh, no, it didn't end up. It was on its wheels when we got there. And but he was hanging out his window, like the window was half rolled down or quarter rolled down, and his body and his arm was hanging out the window. His left shoulder was kind of drooped over the window, and his head was hanging out the door, and the blood dripping down his door and down the side of the van. And he obviously wasn't conscious. He was unconscious. Um, don't remember if there were any other patients, but I just remember treating him. So we were trying to get into the car, but due to the damage to the vehicle, they couldn't open the doors. And so firefighters automatically, are that they get excited when they get to tear a car apart or use their hydraulic tools to pry doors open and so on. And I remember they were like starting to, um, get their equipment so they could bust the door open and get this guy out. And I'm like, wait, wait, wait. Somebody said, try the back door. So we went back there, and sure enough, back door is wide open, so you can just walk right through the van up to the front. So much for letting them play with their tools. But so we went in through the rear, and there he was, sitting in his chair. We got him propped up right, and we started extricating him out the back of the van. So he's obviously needs to be put in. It's very standard when somebody has a suspected cervical or spinal compromise, due to the mechanism of injury. So it's just precaution, to protect their spinal cord, their spinal column. So you put a collar around them. That's more of a reminder. Well, you can't remind him; he's unconscious. But for conscious people, that plastic collar is more of a reminder not to move your head than it is to actually prevent you from moving your head. If you've ever had one on and you wanted to, you can turn your head any way you want. It's just inconvenient to have that plastic thing. Anyways, so it's more of a deterrent than anything. So we put one of those on him, and then we recline the seat back completely horizontal, and we put the backboard, the hard wood or plastic board, right underneath his shoulders. And then it was very easy. We were able to just kind of pull him right on backwards with some assistance, right onto the board, with the end of the board balancing on his seat. And then we eventually lifted him off and laid him on the van floor and out the back of the van. Well, when we did that, we realized that he had an airway problem. He had copious amounts of blood starting to pool, in his oropharynx. That's in your mouth. And so, we got suction. The priority was we noticed that he had, some multiple issues. He was bleeding profusely in his mouth. So he's compromised airway. If he's trying to breathe on his own, he's going to end up breathing in blood. So to fix that, you either turn them on their side, which is now kind of hard because he's strapped down to a backboard, but you can flip a backboard on its side and let gravity drain everything out. And his nose started to fill up with blood and it started coming out like toothpaste, out his nares. And true, it's what it looked like toothpaste coming out of a toothpaste tube. Clotted, thick blood coming out his nose, both nares. So it's like, guys, let's get him into the back of the ambulance so that we can take care of these things with the suction machine that we have mounted in the back of the ambulance, as opposed to getting a portable one and getting it set up, in the back of the van. The ambulance is right there. So let's just get him in the back of the ambulance and start cleaning him up. Suction his airway, get it clear, and so on. So as a paramedic, we're advanced life support. So I can actually secure his airway with a tube called an endotracheal tube. And it's a plastic tube. They come in different diameters, depending on the size of somebody's vocal cords. That's your vocal cords. It's called your trachea. That's what's your vocal cords are connected to. That rigid feeling tube here right in the front is your trachea. That's your breathing tube. It's connected to your lungs down here. It branches into your lungs, into the right and left main stem bronchus off of your trachea. Anyways, I'm getting technical because it's fun to remember these things. So you use a metal blade called a laryngoscope, which lifts the bottom mandible. Remember, he's laying on his back, so his face up. You lift his lower mandible up, and then you visualize the vocal cords. They're white normally, and they're kind of arched in two U's, and they vibrate. That's what enables you to speak. Well, in between those vocal cords, behind it is your trachea. So you put a tube right between their vocal cords. Okay, and if they're breathing, you actually have to time the insertion of the endotracheal tube. You'll see the vocal cords go as they breathe, and then when they inhale, they open up, and when they exhale, I'm sorry, the other way around. They exhale, it opens up. When they breathe, yeah, anyways. You wait for the vocal cords to open, and you pass the tube between the, okay? If they're not breathing, those vocal cords are still. So you just locate them visually with a light on the end of the laryngoscope blade, and then you go right between the vocal cords. Okay, so I put a tube in between his vocal cords. At the end of that tube is a balloon, and you inflate it on the outside of the tube with a syringe, just like a 10 cc syringe. You inflate 10 cc's of air, and that balloon on the tip or near the tip of the endotracheal tube inflates inside the trachea. So now the tube doesn't move any deeper or come out. Get it? It kind of just swells up. Now I attach a bag on the end of that endotracheal tube, and I can actually breathe, or I can push air right into his lungs. And it's pretty cool. The lungs just expand. You can physically see your work. You put a tube of oxygen as well into that bag. So now you're not only breathing air into his lungs, but you're breathing oxygenated air into their lungs. That's what they need. So that's what I wanted to do to this guy. That's the ultimate airway the ultimate way to secure an airway. Why is that a balloon in there? It literally keeps liquid or anything from traveling down and beside that tube that you just put in his trachea. It's not a tight seal per se, or perfect seal when you put that tube in his trachea. There's still room around it. So hypothetically, if blood is particularly what you're protecting the airway from, and in his case, remember his mouth is just filling up with blood. Why is it filling up with blood? I don't know. He's got some laceration or he's got a brain bleed or something. I don't know, whatever. Wherever the blood's coming from, doesn't matter. It's filling up his airway. We need to protect his lungs from that blood. So you put the tube in the trachea, you inflate the balloon so it seals around the trachea. So now that guy can bleed all he wants in his mouth, but it's not gonna. He won't be able to inhale because I've blocked that ability to inhale with that tube, and now I'm breathing for him. Okay, so that's what I want to do, but his mouth is filled copious full of blood, and he still has a bite reflex. So every time I put something in his mouth, he bites down. He's biting down on my blade. And we do have drugs that are now available called a paralytic, where we can actually paralyze him. And it takes away that muscle tone completely in your whole body. Bizarre to push this drug. But it literally paralyzes your skeletal muscles. Everything from the top of your head to your toes. But it doesn't affect consciousness. That's the scary part. But in this guy's case, he's already unconscious. So he would have benefited by this paralytic, and I would have been able to get into his mouth and pass that tube after suctioning all the blood away. But I didn't have that in Delano. We didn't have paralytics in Delano. That was that was in Oregon. But in Delano, in California, they didn't have us signed off on paralytics. So I wasn't able to get into his mouth and intubate him and secure his airway. And I had a real problem because he was bleeding copious amounts of blood. And so I'm thinking, and I can't even ventilate him, with a mask over his mouth. Because if I do that, where's all the blood going to go? It's going to go straight down his trachea and into his lungs. So it's like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I can suction until I'm blue in the shirt, and then I got to put a mask on him real quick and try to ventilate him. And well, he's bleeding, and it's a mess. Okay, so I made the decision to crike him. And what is that? You're avoiding this part of the airway from the outside of your face down to here, inside your mouth down to here. And the trachea continues right here, the front of your neck. Remember, and it branches into two bronchus into your lungs. Well, right where that branch starts, there's a place in the trachea called the cricothyroid membrane. And it's a soft spot in the neck that you learn in school, and you perform it on mannequins, and you learn how to, you locate the Adam's apple, a man's Adam apple, that is, and you go right below it until you find a kind of a soft spot, until you can insert your finger, and you can tell there's cartilage above it and cartilage below it, and there's kind of just tissue in between it. Okay, so you locate the cricothyroid membrane, and you take a needle. It's a kit called a crike kit, and it's a large diameter needle or a larger diameter needle. And it's a multi-step process. You end up puncturing the outside of the neck with a very sharp, large gauge. It's about the size of your pinky, okay, through the membrane. And you make sure you don't go through and through, because then you'd put a hole through this side of the trachea and through the posterior side or the back side of the trachea. You don't want to do that. So anyways, so I punctured his cricothyroid membrane until I met no more resistance. So I know I'm inside the trachea. And then you end up breaking away a needle. That needle that you used actually comes in two pieces. It's just a little tabs that you use. You break away the needle. You advance. Inside that needle is another plastic tube that becomes the breathing tube. You push that breathing tube into the trachea till it inserts a little deeper into the trachea. And some of the crike kits have a balloon, just like the endotracheal tube does. And you do the same thing. You put a 10 cc syringe on it and you inflate the balloon. Well, this kit when I was in Delano, I didn't realize, that's my own fault, by not looking at the kit and knowing my equipment beforehand. I didn't realize this Crike kit that I had didn't have a balloon on it. It's just the brand and the style of this Crike kit didn't have a balloon. So now I've got this free moving plastic tube inserted into the neck, into the trachea, and I can attach an ambu bag onto the outside. That's a ambu bag, is that breathing bag, that bellow that you've seen before. You can attach that to this tube right on the outside of the neck and breathe. And you're just accessing the airway a little deeper than having to go through the mouth and get to it through the vocal cords. Okay. But in my instance, I decided to eliminate that because it was complicated, and access it down here. So I was successful. Just unfortunately, it wasn't protected. So then when I thought about it after the fact, it's like, yeah, I accessed his airway after the bleeding, but now I've got this tube that's going into his trachea down here, and all this blood can still make its way down and around that tube that I put in because it doesn't have a balloon that I can inflate. Well, oh well, that's the way it went. And I ended up doing a handoff to a helicopter crew who was a paramedic and a nurse. We had life flight land, and we transferred him into life flight, and they took over. And I ended up giving a turnover to the receiving paramedic and told him the same thing. Oh, by the way, that Crike tube does not have a balloon. And he's like, okay, copy that. I'll take care of it. And he told me later, he was able to use his Crike kit. He took out mine and put in his and inflated the balloon and made it more secure. So I was like, well, I had an opportunity to do it. It was pretty cool. Did he survive? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember getting a follow up on him and whether he survived or not. But he had some, obviously a head injury, a big head injury from that motor vehicle accident. So that was the first time I got to play with a Crike kit. And I was by myself. It was a EMT paramedic, a basic EMT paramedic partnership in Delano. I'm scrolling down here. Dak, are you a traveling man? What is this live about? Here, Patricia, I'm gonna just in the future, mainly military, medical, and the Word of God. Okay. I know you feel that the Word of God is religion, but it's not. Okay. Again, religion is man having to do work. The truth, there's no work involved. Jesus Christ did the work. That's the Word of God. So those are my three hashtags: Word of God, military, and emergency medicine. Oh, Chaz, you don't forget calls. I can tell you all kinds of calls in detail, because that's actually part of our job. Recall, paperwork, especially paperwork. Oh my gosh. You got to be real careful in your paperwork to describe what exactly you saw, what you did, what the results were, because they teach you that, and you got to be real clear about it. You got to learn to write clearly, use punctuation. Spelling is an absolute must, because it could be 2 or 3 years from that call when you're all of a sudden what's the word? Called into court and summoned into on a murder trial, or I've actually been there and did that. And this call, you don't have, you may not be able to sit there and recall exactly what happened. So you got to rely on your paperwork sometimes, a lot of times, to remember. And then when you start reading, you're like, oh, okay, I remember this call. But you got to be able to read word for word off that paperwork, because the other attorney has a copy of that as well. And he's going to question you if you're in, uh, if you're making a mistake or not recalling correctly. So anyhow, but yeah, recall is pretty easy, and the calls are so bizarre sometimes. You have no choice. You can't forget some of these calls. Some of these calls are wild, absolutely bizarre. I have endless calls in the civilian world. Now, in the military, even though I served 8 years, the military is a different animal, than the civilian world. If we're not doing anything in the military, if we're not deployed, or whether it's peacetime or at war or whatever, and I'm not providing medical support like I'm trained to do, what am I doing? What am I doing on the base? Well, people are people, and they get sick and injured on the job. So we're waiting for someone to walk in, on the base, to, you know, get care. And from an emergency standpoint, there's not a whole lot of emergencies on a base. Why? Because these guys are healthy and they're young, and we've got, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Procedures in the military that are like adhered to the T. Um, and so, uh, accidents and injuries, there's not a whole lot of motor vehicle accidents happening on a base. You see what I mean? There's not traffic, and I mean there is, but not like there is in the civilian world. You don't have interstates and highways and byways and on a base. And you don't have elderly people. They retire people before that. And elderly people is where most of our medical calls come from in the civilian world. Why? Because they're old. And that's the second law of thermodynamics. It's entropy. We are dying. And elderly people are the ones that have, you know, injuries and illnesses. I'm sorry, not so much injuries, sicknesses and diseases. You get it? So I have so much more uh, calls than in the military. In that 8 years that I did in the military, I didn't do a whole lot of nothing in the military, unless you're assigned to a hospital and you're doing, bedside care, like for the nurses, or assisting them. Been there, did that too in the military. The nurses loved me when I was working, because I was a paramedic in the civilian world. I could start IVs, I could push medications, I could, so they would use and abuse me, but I had fun doing it. But otherwise, I didn't get a whole lot of experience. I had much more experience in the civilian world, than in the military. I didn't do the military full time. I was part time. I was a reservist, and my employer let me go one weekend per month, one Saturday, Sunday per month. And then when I got back, I still had my job waiting for me, my full time job as a paramedic. And then there was a 1 week, I'm sorry, 2 week stint that I had to fulfill in the military each year. And it was random as to where I did that time. Either they assigned the duty for me, or I found if they didn't have something for me already, I could find something online. And if it was available, I could apply for it. And if it was approved, then I'd get to go to Spain or Italy or Hawaii or Ketchikan, Alaska, or wherever they had a billet or a need for a Navy corpsman, I could sign up for it online and submit it to be approved. And if it was approved, then the military would send me there to go do 2 weeks in Italy, for example. I never got a chance to do that, but it was always recommended. If you get a chance, go to Spain, or and do your AT there. That's annual training. That's what they called it. So, the second Crike call, that was even more bizarre. Bizarre. New fishing live, please. Soliman Islam. Welcome back there, Soliman. I'll be out there on the lake again here in the near future. Um, Great distinction about religion. So many miss the forest for the trees. Yeah. Well, I didn't know any different either before I learned otherwise. Yeah. But now I know, and now I can differentiate the two. Yeah. Um, the second opportunity, it was a joint effort doing this crike on this guy. I ended up actually puncturing inserting the needle into this guy. It was another man's neck. But the initial idea was the firefighter who was also trained as a paramedic in Oregon. And we had a gunshot wound to the head. It was a suicide, successful suicide. Um, and I don't know what, I always, I've had a best friend that took his life um, same way, and realized that there must have been something going on, that I didn't recognize or I didn't know about, because all I knew him was as my best friend, and then for him to do something like that, was like totally out of character for, Tim. And his name was Tim. But anyways, so this kid who did it, he was in his 30s, young 30s, apparently in an argument or dispute with his girlfriend, and he ended up going into the bedroom and taking his life while his girlfriend was out in the kitchen or something. But so we get responded to the call, uh, what is known as a GSW, which is a gunshot wound. But that's pretty vague. It could be anywhere. It could be in the head to the toe. So but it's always like, ooh, this could be a good one. And so we get there. It's a crime scene. Police are already on scene. The scene's secure, meaning the weapon's been secured, and it's okay for us to come in. All right. The scene is secure, which usually means the gun has been found and it's been secured as well. So it was an apartment complex, second deck, and I remember firefighters were there. Their truck was already on scene. Police were on scene. They had the stairway already cordoned off with crime scene tape, and they had an officer down at the bottom of the steps. I think there was one at the top of the steps, one at the doorway of the apartment. It was kind of a walk down the upper walkway, and we left our gurney downstairs because carrying a gurney upstairs is awfully heavy and cumbersome. So we'll let the firefighters do that if we need them. Yes, we do use and abuse our firefighters. Um, so we took our kit, our medical kit, defibrillator, and yeah, I think that's about it. And then carried that upstairs. Um, Went into the apartment, and the apartment. I did a little short video or a full length video on my playlist titled um, "Paramedic slash Military Playlist," and I got one in there. I forget what I titled it. I think it's gunshot wound, something to that effect. And I did a video on this story. So walked into the apartment. It looked like they were either moving out or they had just moved in because there were boxes still taped shut up against the wall in the living room. It was a carpeted living room floor. Speaking of recollection of detail, I even think I remember it was kind of a golden brown color. I'm serious because I worked on it. Um, and not only walked on it, but I worked on the patient on it. I'm getting to that. There was a female officer in the kitchen speaking with the girl, and she's crying. She's a wreck. And there's other officers at the bedroom, and there's an officer at the doorway. There's a couple officers, two officers at the doorway, and then the light was on inside. The light in the living room wasn't on. The bulb was missing, or it was out, or something. I remember there was a kitchen light on, like one bulb light. Like my kitchen has a single bulb light above the sink. It was like that one in the kitchen was on, but the light in the living room was off. And for some reason, it didn't go on because otherwise we would have turned it on or asked it to be turned on, for some light. It's easier to work in light than it is in dark. But the bedroom light was on. So we went over there, and I remember them kind of scooting off to the side, and we walked inside, and we hear this, and it was obviously not the police doing that. And then as they stepped aside, we see there's somebody on their knees. There's a guy on his knees at the bedside, and he's got his arms up, and he's got his head down on his arms. And you can see that you can see his chest rising and falling with that moaning. And we're like, okay, I think I'm just using my, like, what we would normally say if there's somebody around. It's like, so what happened? We're looking at the officers as we're working, so what's going on, guys? What happened? And they're telling us. Apparently he was in a argument or disagreement with his girlfriend, and as far as we can tell, and all of a sudden the officer goes like this. He goes, and I went, really? So we're looking at him, and my partner's at his head. I remember a partner gets up on the bed, and he's looking through his hair. I can remember he's like running his hands and trying to feel around this guy's head. And I'm kind of doing the interviewing, and trying to gather some information. It's like we have two roles. There's usually a patient person, and then the other person is the interviewer, and I'm gathering medications if that's what I need to do, and getting the story. And then after we complete that, usually one stays at the head, he takes care of the airway, and the second paramedic is down at his torso, and he's starting IVs and defibrillating if that is called for. In his case, it's not, but I'm just saying those are some of the duties that each of us do. So one's at the head and one's down at the body. Well, my partner's up on the bed, and I remember he's running his hands through his head, and all of a sudden, before all this kind of progresses, one of the questions I asked the officer is, what did he get? What did he use? Do you know the caliber of the weapon? And they said, no, we don't. I said, where's the weapon? And they all looked at each other, and they're all like, and I went, you haven't found the weapon? I was like, what? where's the weapon? And then nobody knew. And I stepped back. My partner and I both stepped back while he's on the bed up like this going, and I said, would you mind looking for it? I was surprised. It's like, there's like 4 or 5 officers all around and nobody's found the weapon, nor apparently did they look for it. Or maybe they looked for it and they didn't find it, whatever. But I asked them again, could you look for it, please? And sure enough, when everyone started looking under the bed and looking under the sheet, under the covers, which apparently they didn't do, the one officer on the far end of the bed by the light that was on the light on the nightstand says, I got it. It's I'm standing over it right now. The weapon's secure. And then I asked him what was it. It was like a 38 revolver. And he just stood over it and made sure nobody, got near it, and made sure it wasn't loaded, etc. And then we progressed. And as my partner was running his finger through this guy's head, all of a sudden he blurts out, "Found the bubble and brew." And that was the first time I heard that. I was like, huh? And I looked at what he was doing, and he's got his finger in a spot in the back of his head. And he said he found the entry wound. Actually, he found the exit wound. And he had his finger in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, Don, did you really? And he looks at me with a half smile, as morbid as we can be. And I was like, okay, let's look in his mouth. So we had a flashlight, a little pen light. I'm looking in his mouth, and sure enough, on a blackened, gunpowder residue hole in the upper palate, way back, near his soft palate. There's a hard palate right up front where your teeth are. And then when you go further back where your nose is, it gets soft back there. Well, in that soft palate was an entry wound. Yeah, a little black, round, little sphincter looking thing. So the bullet went through his soft palate and out the back of his head. Still breathing. That's you. I described the way he was breathing. If for whatever reason he was moaning, and obviously not awake. So we, the gear started turning, and we realized, we need to secure his airway. It's an ABC problem: airway, breathing, circulation. Is he breathing? If not, breathe for him. Establish an airway, and then breathe for him, and then see his circulation. Does he have a heartbeat? Which he did. He obviously does. He's breathing. You don't even need to feel for a pulse. He's got a heart rate if someone's breathing, but not the other way around. If they don't have a heart rate, they're not breathing. So, we need to establish an airway, very first thing, and it's kind of hard to do at the bedside, especially on a soft bed. We need to put them on a hard surface, and we decided out in the living room. Perfect. Wide open living room, only boxes up against the wall, no furniture. So let's get him out in the living room. So Don was at his head, and I'm at his feet. I've got his pants like around the cuffs, and we're carrying him out, starting to go backwards. And about that time, firefighters showed up. They came after the fact. I said at the beginning firefighters were on scene. They weren't on scene because they arrived later. And so they came up, and in Oregon, there's usually a firefighter trained as a paramedic. And why do they have that? Because in Oregon, they've got this system called PIC, paramedic in charge. And so if the firefighters get there first and they got a paramedic on board, he can go ahead and start treating them at the ALS level, the advanced life support level. I'm getting a blurry contact here, so I keep picking my eye. He becomes the paramedic in charge at that point. Oh my gosh, I got like a booger behind my contact, and I'm seeing nothing but blur. Woo! Anyways, But he wasn't on scene yet. We were first on scene. So the second firefighter, the second paramedic shows up. Actually, it was the third because we work as a dual paramedic system in the ambulance. So we had a third paramedic now on scene, and he's in charge, and he asks us, "Hey guys, basically we're here. What do you want us to do?" And we told him, we got a GSW to the head, and we're going to work on him in the living room. And he's like, "Okay, Roger, what do you want us to do?" I said, "Just guide me out." So they took a hold of my waistband and they're guiding me backwards. And they're carrying our equipment out of the bedroom out to the living room. So everything was started there in the living room. And there was no lights. So all the police officers are out with their flashlights. There's like three or four of them. They all got their flashlights on. Thank God for that. And so they're beaming their flashlights down on us. There's one police officer that I recognized, and he's got like two cameras hanging over around his neck and here in his chest. And the guy looked like Colonel Sanders. Wait till you see the video if you ever watch it. I got a picture of Colonel Sanders in the bottom left part of that I edited into the video. But I'm telling you, this guy was a spitting image of Colonel Sanders. He had a white goatee, he had a mustache, he had glasses, he had white hair, and he had two cameras hanging around his neck. And I'm looking up while I'm working on this guy going, what the heck? And so I asked him, photographer? And he's like, or cameras, I said. He says, yeah, I'm the crime scene photographer. And I was like, oh, cool. I said, would you be able to like cover this and take some pictures for educational purposes afterwards? Hint, hint. And he's like, sure thing. So throughout the call, you're seeing this ding, 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 and the flashes are going off. So he's taking pictures. And, I never did recover those pictures, or I never did see them. But I was hoping to actually use them, in a what we call a tape review, where we actually review calls and for educational purposes to other classes, sometimes paramedic classes, and we actually show them, actual calls with photos to accompany it. That would have been perfect, but never did see those pictures. But anyway, so Colonel Sanders is with us, and we got police all shining their flashlights at us or down on the patient. Well, I'm going to try to shorten this. It's already that long, but bunch of airway complications, similar to that guy in the van. Lots of blood, copious amounts of blood because of the hole in the back of his throat, and it's just bleeding like a sieve. And same thing, toothpaste tubes of clotted blood coming out of his nose, and just clotted. It was a mess. He ended up letting out a giant cough. The patient did, just through. It's a natural reaction. If I put my finger in the back of your throat, you're going to cough. You're probably going to punch me, But obviously he's unconscious, but he still has these reactions that are autonomic, meaning they're automatic. And coughing is one of them. When anything goes near the back of your trachea and gets near your trachea, the body's automatic reaction is to try to protect the airway and cough and get it out of there. Same thing we do when we accidentally eat too fast or speak while we're eating, and we end up inhaling our drink or our food. We start coughing violently to get that out of there. Well, he did the same thing while I was working on him, and it covered me. That blood, thank God I was wearing reading glasses. I'm wearing contacts now. I was wearing glasses at the time, but I didn't have a mask or a shield on, and he covered me with his blood. And I remember the police were handing me, and firefighters were handing me towels, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. And so we had paralytics up in Oregon, like I said. So that was the first time we got to use paralytics, at least my partner and I. Even after paralyzing him, the blood was a big problem. and I was having a hard time suctioning his airway enough to, pass this tube. And then all of a sudden, the suction machine quit on us. The battery died, and I think we went through two batteries. We had the one that was installed in the extra that is kept on the machine itself. It's a portable suction machine that we carry with us. And so I remember my partner running downstairs, Don, to try to get some extra batteries. And or no, firefighter did that for us. And then my laryngoscope, that tool that I used to get in the person's mouth and pass that the endotracheal tube, broke on me. The weld broke on it. Everything happened on this call that was just bizarre. I was like, oh my gosh, everything's breaking. The battery on the suction machine dies. Had a firefighter running down to the ambulance to find the extra one. My partner's running down to the ambulance to get the spare laryngoscope, and to get the paralytics out of the drug box when we decided to do that. And everything kind of just went to crap. That's when the firefighter decided to crike this guy, to use the cricothyrotomy kit. And it was a super idea. And it was why Don was gone. Don is actually the senior paramedic amongst us two at the time. And it's up to him to make the ultimate decision. When I want to do something, we work together, and he's ultimately responsible. So I got to run it by him. Well, that kind of is not verbally done. It's just, if it's something that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing, or illegally, or I'm missing something and he sees that I'm missing it, he's ultimately responsible to be able to recognize that and stop me, type thing. But this crike idea was done while he was down getting that extra laryngoscope. And when he came back upstairs and he saw us in the middle of doing that, he's like, that's a good idea. And I'm like, had to do what we had to do. And so we ended up successfully putting a cricothyrotomy, doing a cricothyrotomy in this guy. And that particular kit had a balloon on it. And we inflated the balloon. The thing went like classroom, doing it on a mannequin. It was perfect. I ended up putting an incision in his neck with a scalpel blade, and puncturing the membrane and putting the big needle / tube through the membrane, and being successful at that without any complications, and inflating the tube and securing it with a band that comes with it, goes around the neck, secures it so it doesn't move, and then putting that ambu bag, that bellow, attaching that little plastic nipple, male, female, secures, and then you squeeze the bag and their lungs inflate, and now you're breathing for them. It was pretty cool. The result of pushing paralytics, paralyzing the body, you literally paralyze the entire body. Even in the ability to blink is taken away, because it's muscles, required to blink. Well, this drug called succinylcholine actually takes away that ability takes away skeletal muscle tone completely. It's short acting. It lasts, I forget the duration of Sux. We called it Sux, SUX. But anyways, it wears off eventually, and then you got to push some more, or you push some longer acting paralytic if you want to keep them paralyzed for a longer period of time. One of the side effects of intubating and using succinylcholine, intubating is, putting a laryngoscope, I've already described it, and passing a tube into somebody's trachea. You end up messing with the intracranial pressure, the pressure in the brain, even from intubating. When you lift the tongue up and lift the person's head up off the ground and put a tube into their trachea, is their intracranial pressure goes up. And one of the other effects of that drug is, and intubating, is the heart ends up slowing down. I may be using some technical terms and descriptions that you might not recognize, but I can't keep going back and describing it, or I end up putting you through paramedic school. But it ends up stimulating the vagus nerve in the body, and that innervates the heart, and meaning it's connected to the heart. And when you start innervating the vagus nerve, which you can do various ways in the body, um, you can slow the heart rate down inadvertently. And actually, that happened to him en route to the hospital. He got real bradycardic, or his heart rate got down into the 30s, I think. And we recognized that, like, whoa, that's not a good thing. Um, if it supports a blood pressure, it's okay. But if he gets hypotensive or a low blood pressure, then you got to do something about what's causing that. And in this case, it was a slow heart rate. So we've got a drug that we use called atropine that increases the heart rate, um, amongst other things. But atropine is the remedy for bradycardia. So you push some atropine, you get the heart rate to come back up, and then keep transporting him to the hospital. And we delivered him that way. Did he survive? I don't think so. But it was a radical call. You know, if I could use that adjective. Everything that could happen happened on that call. And it was a perfect call for, like I mentioned earlier, a tape review. You know, if you want to see what can happen on calls when the S hits the fan, check this call out. It was wild. So I know I didn't um, look at the room the whole time I was talking, but sorry. Let me scroll back here a little bit. Skylar, my name's Skylar. I don't know what kind of freshwater fish for my 50 gallon. What kind of freshwater fish? What kind of freshwater fish do you want me to make? Loving the knowledge. Oh, I didn't read your comment, you Sasquatch. Let me scroll back here. Motrin, water, change of socks. I thought that cured all. There you go. Exactly. Um, you ever needed the silver bullet? No, never needed the silver bullet. Um, I if you're talking about a rectal exam or a rectal temperature, is that what you're talking about? I did one on a Marine. He was loving me. I did. I had to take a core temperature on a guy that was victim of a near drowning in Iraq. Yes, you heard it right. A near drowning in Iraq. Um, oh, thanks for coming, HVT. Do you think RU Paul is sexy in drag? What is RU Paul? Is that a username? Trump voters are traitors. That's anonymously 97. I wish the paramedics had let me go when I was found. I think you told me your story. Patricia, on that note, not to elaborate about what happened to you, but I've run on patients like yourself, if I'm recalling your story correctly, but not as bad as I think what you described. Everything from carbon monoxide poisoning attempts to take their life by carbon monoxide uh, anoxiation to Yeah, using razor blades to, cut their arms and so on. And more often than not, they're unsuccessful. As a matter of fact, I've never seen anybody successful at taking their life via, quote, cutting their wrist, unquote. Even that guy this guy that tried to kill himself by carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, he was darn near successful. That was pretty impressive. He had that thing planned out. He ended up running a tube, securing a tube to his tailpipe with duct tape, and then ran it into his vehicle. He must have done all this before he turned the car on, and put it like into the window, and even sealed the opening of the window around the tube so that nothing could go out, and ended up running his vehicle with the exhaust going directly into the interior of the car, is where we found him, with the car running. And I remember having to open the garage door and literally letting all of that exhaust out before we could even enter. And then we got him out. He was still breathing. I think we intubated him. Still was alive, and but he was unconscious. But he ended up overdosing as well. We found the medications that, here, this is a bizarre story for Patricia and any other female that's listening, and anybody else that gets off on this kind of stuff. But I'm going to mention it anyways. But he also took some kind of his medications that he was on, and he was on. I'm struggling to remember. I think he was like on some psychiatric medication. Imagine that. And the name, you could Google it and find out what it is. I'm tempted to do it here. I'll just ask Alexa over there. I'm trying to remember the name of the condition instead of using lay words, because that'll give it away. Anyways, the medication that one of the medications he overdosed on caused a condition called priapism. Alexa, what psychiatric medication results in priapism if overdosed on? Alexa, turn your volume to 6 and repeat that, please. Alexa, what psychiatric medication, if overdosed, causes priapism?
Overdose of antipsychotics such as chlorpromazine, thioridazine, risperidone, or atypicals like aripiprazole, and antidepressants, especially trazodone. Also,
trazodone. That's what it was.
Or sertraline.
Alexa, stop. Thank you. He overdosed on trazodone. All right. It was an antidepressant, according to Alexa. And I didn't know that, or what the side effect was, or one of the possible side effects of overdosing on that, and until we got to the hospital. And so we get him to the hospital, and we tell him the story. He attempted to. We found him in the garage with the car running, and described the detailed apparatus that he put together to poison himself. And we had him intubated, meaning, the tube, endotracheal tube in his trachea, and we're breathing for him. IV's established, he's on the monitor, etc. We call that IVO2 monitor. And then one of the first things after hearing the turnover by me, I remember I was given the turnover. There was like 2 female nurses assisting and transferring the putting their EKG wires on him, and it's like a procedure, transferring him off the gurney onto their bed, and then getting him good to go and ready to be seen by the doc. One of the first things the doc did when he heard the turnover was he pulled all the curtains around the bed, and he asked the nurses and started assisting himself as well. Let's get this guy's pants off. And as soon as they took his pants off, he had a big erection. I hope I don't get banned on this. And the nurses went, ah! And he goes, I knew it. The doctor did. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, what the? And he's like, yep. He said, I looked it up before he got here when you gave the radio report and I gave the name of the medication. He looked it up and he was like, he probably suspected, wait a minute, there's something about trazodone. What is that again? He looked it up. Sure enough, one of the side effects is priapism. That's a painful hard-on. Now, if he was awake, it might have been painful, but that was what he suspected. So he pulled his pants off, and sure enough, there's this unconscious carbon monoxide poisoned man with a tube down his trachea and breathing for him, presented for them. I remember the scream the nurses let out. Wah! Oh my God. Oh, and one of the nurses said, oh, they needed to catheterize him, put a tube in his penis so he can urinate into a bag. And one of the nurses says, well, that'll make it easy. And I was like, what? Well, that'll make it easy. And come to find out, she's like, well, there's something to hold on to. And I was like, oh my God, rolling my eyes. All right, you guys do your job. I'm done. Things that we laugh about. I'm sorry, Jordan. Am I too loud? Way too loud. Watch, I'm going to end up getting banned on this live stream is going to end up getting flagged or something. I don't think so. This is medical terminology. Hey, it's life, Grandpa YouTube, Lolo YouTube, as the Filipinos call him. That's reality. So, anyhow, that was that call. Yep. Hey, maybe I shouldn't mention this, Patricia, but maybe I can talk about it as kind of just maybe from an educational standpoint, instead of like using, your example, is just curious, because in the medical field, we ask ourselves these questions. So what made you choose to try to end your life by doing that, as opposed to putting a gun to your head and making it so quick and probably more successful? Why choose that route? Was it just by something you heard that was an option? Because there's so much easier, quicker, there's an easier, quicker option. Maybe you didn't have access to a weapon. Because usually, and what we're taught, and it makes sense, is those that try to do that, by that method, of what you chose to do, it's a cry for help. because there's other ways to do that that are percentage-wise more successful. And so what we find, or the numbers find, is that most people do that, as a cry for help. Which is a good thing, that you chose to do it that way. Because you ended up getting help. Don't know how, successful the help was, but oh, talking about overdosing and or cutting your wrists, which is that term has been around for decades, probably more than that. Where I'm saying those methods are not successful. Not to say they're not, but more than often they're not. And so what they find is that people that use those methods, are looking for help. It's a cry for help more than it is a serious attempt to end their life, because there's other ways to do that that are much more successful. Is that right? Well, I thank you for being transparent, Patricia, really, because your testimony, your story, is, people are watching, they're listening, and it might just help somebody else. Um, when you say railroad tracks, you're talking about, now that in the medical field is referring to something else, but are you talking about going vertically down your arm? Is that what you're referring to? Oh, oh, I see. So the vertical and the horizontal. Okay. Yeah, and railroad tracks in medicine is a drug user, and the IV track marks. Actually, no, we just call them track marks. So I stand corrected. They call them railroad tracks, just track mark. Okay, but I see what you're. I do diagonally. It's more special. Connect the cuts. And even then, yeah, you got to make sure you're cutting your artery and not, just cutting your arms. Yeah, and don't quote me on this, but arteries are typically buried deep, within the extremity for a reason, because God designed us that way, that put something that critical so close to the surface is not where arteries are. So they're deep, you know, and they're next to the bone. And so to cut the artery is the wrist, even the wrist, it's buried deep in that would be the lateral aspect of your wrist between your, um, gosh, I'm gonna forget my bones, ulna and radius. Radius is near the thumb. Ulna is on the outside. Is between the radial bone, buried in deep next to the radial bone. In that groove, and so you can't get to it cutting horizontally. You got to cut vertically, and it's way deep. Ask anybody that's had a what you call it, blood draw from the brachial artery. They do a blood gas from the brachial artery, and it's deep. It's about an inch worth of needle into the, maybe not that deep, into that groove, just to access the artery, is hard to get to. Not to mention a razor blade. I can't even imagine being successful. It'd be like chance. And for a lay person to actually know your anatomy and know where the artery is, it's not just, here. These are just veins. You cut a vein, you're not going to die from cutting a vein. It'll coagulate and clot itself. Now an artery won't. That's under pressure. It's under pressure of your heart. That's why we teach. I actually taught Iraqi National Guard personnel over in Iraq, the difference between a venous and arterial bleed. So, if you want to bleed out, it's kind of hard to get to. You could even cut your external jugular. That's not an artery. That's a vein. That's the one I accessed when I started an IV. That's the one I accessed on Peekaboo Street's dad to push an amp of D50 or sugar to get his blood sugar back up. But, to access an artery, that's hard. Even in your groin, it's way deep. Now, there are some arteries in your scalp, but they're super small. Actually, seen arterial bleeds in the scalp, 3 of them. And even then, it would have taken a while for a person to bleed out if they have, if I left those arteries unchecked in his scalp. It would have taken a while. So, yeah, I wonder what your son actually died from. What else did he do? Did he overdose himself? The inner thigh artery, talking about right here in the inner, I can't raise it up high enough. Sure it is. But who knows where that is? What layperson knows, the anatomy that well to know that, oh yeah, I'm going to take a razor blade and go for the artery in my inner thigh. Oh, he didn't overdose? Did they ever give you did they do an autopsy on him or no? Well, yeah, unfortunately, as you know, and I know, that if you're brave enough to bring up anything in a chat room, you're opening it up to free game to all the sick people. I did both. Yes, I read his autopsy. And what was the cause of death? Maybe would have to reread it right once, couldn't go back, right? Well, you don't have to. I'm just, in my mind, being the thinker, the paramedic I used to be, um, it's not uncommon, for someone to not understand exactly, what happened, and then to, just not know, exactly what it was that, killed somebody. Um, it's very, again, I'm going to re-say it. It's common for the lay public, to insert what they think, happened, or to hear something and then use that as the reason or the cause, where, you know, those that are in the business are looking at it like, huh? That doesn't kill anybody. That doesn't kill people. Um, or not likely, that would kill somebody. But, you know, maybe he, if he died of exsanguination, meaning, lack of bleeding out, then so be it. So no medications were found in his lab results during after the autopsy or during the autopsy. No narcotics. He didn't overdose on. Was he a heroin user or anything like that? I'm just guessing. What would cause somebody to stop breathing? And it's a narcotic. Yeah, all over his apartment. Well, been there, seen that, and uh, if it's venous blood, that's one thing. Not to say, you can't. Well, yeah, again, what did he do it with? Do you know? Did he use a knife or? Can you answer my DNR question? Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, here. If someone had DNR tattooed on their chest, would paramedics have to let them go? No, we need paperwork, dear. Been there, went through this dilemma too many times. The family members crying, screaming, he's got a do not resuscitate order. I'm telling you, he's got a do not resuscitate order. Like, yeah, yeah, he does, but do you happen to have the paperwork? Which at that time, that's the last thing they want to do is go through a file box to find their DNR. But in that case, if I can't see something, I'm gonna end up calling the doctor at the hospital and letting him in on the problem, the you know the dilemma, and ask the doc, what do you think? And he might just say, go ahead and uh, give the family, their wishes. Um, Something like that. But oh, everybody, thumbs up. Don't forget to like, if you would. Wow, I wonder if this live stream is going to be one of the top attended live streams as far as you guys go, visitors. Oh, I didn't read any of the comments about that priapism call. Did I? Did I get any comments on that? It's like I don't really want to know, but oh, Ryan, I'm sorry if you're even still here, but you asked such a cool question. It's like, what advice do you have for me when I get to paramedic school? Hang on, bro. I'm serious. It's not an easy one, but if you're cut out for it, you'll do what you got to do to pass that thing. And don't feel bad if you don't pass field training first time. If you do, more power to you. I did not. I as the military says, I got rolled back my first try, and then tried again and passed the second time. It was the most stressful, one of the most stressful times of my life. Um, Not the paramedic school itself, but the field training was. Um, yeah, it's a uh-oh, message pinned. Oh my gosh, they're unpinned. See, this Xbox is horrendous when it comes to controlling this message board here. Get into study groups. Don't be afraid to get together with your fellow students, your fellow classmates, and study together. Do study groups, and just commit yourself to doing well. I got 89. I was an 89% student throughout paramedic school. 89, 90 on my tests. Although there were others that were just blew me away. But as an older guy, I was an older guy. I was 32 when I became a paramedic. 93. I was 31. And it wasn't easy. Pretty cool though to actually finish it and complete it, and knew that I was officially a paramedic. I'm reading your comment there, Pat, about the apartment. But he actually got DNR tattooed on his chest. By the way, DNRs do not resuscitate, for those that don't know. What do they call it? A medical advance directive. Where you decide what's going to happen to your body, in the event that you die or become terminal, or you stop breathing, or your heart stops beating. That's usually in the event of a irreversible, illness. As opposed to, you're in a motor vehicle accident and you get both your lungs collapse due to trauma, and now you're not breathing because of the injury. Your DNR obviously doesn't apply to that, because that's treatable and due to an injury, not a irreversible, illness. Oh. Oh, I thought you said he had DNR in his chest. Oh, were you just painting a scenario that if he had had that? Okay. And again, I think I just answered the question about, you know, so if that was his plan, to take his life and then have DNR tattooed on his chest so that paramedics wouldn't touch him, no, that wouldn't work. That's not in the advance, when you sign an advance directive or you actually have an advance directive. That's due to, some terminal condition where the, the if I were to breathe for you or start your heart again, am I doing any justice for you? Because your condition is so advanced that you're dying and you just want to be left alone to die so that, you don't end up coming back as uh, a non-functioning vegetable laying in bed because machines are keeping you alive with this advanced illness that's eventually just gonna kill you anyways. Just you're signing a piece of paper so that that illness will end your life and you don't want anything done to you in the event you stop breathing from that illness. But as far as like if trauma takes your life, and you got DNR, they're not a DNR doesn't apply to uh, taking your own life. Yeah. It's pretty specific on the advanced directive, or the DNR, what it entails and what it applies to. And whether or not you want to be a donor, afterwards and yada yada yada. I don't think I'm going to donate anything. I don't need to disassemble my body. They can use someone else. I used to transport teams with donated organs. That was one of the peripheral duties of a basic EMT. Respond to the airport and pick up the transplant team, and they'd be carrying their coolers with a heart in it. I'm serious. Or a lung, or a kidney, or a liver. Yeah. Oh, you got another question? Oh, what say you about the autopsy result? Oh, yeah, I was reading it. It sounds like he cut the artery in his antecubital, not antecubital. Wait. I think you were trying to say antecubital, right? I read it as antecubital. So I was in the crook of his elbow. Is that right? Right here? Um, sorry, Mr. Boston's comment. I'm getting sidetracked. Autopsy results were sharp force injury with medial cubital vein. The vein? Huh. Well, now I'm thinking, he must have been bleeding for a long time. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's interesting. That a vein wouldn't would have, I'm picturing, would have clotted itself, given enough time. Then again, I've never seen it, so what do I know? Yeah, I guess so. But that's interesting, that it was that they discovered that they specifically said the vein. You're welcome, Tricia. Unfortunately, like I said, when us paramedics are, we talk about the human body and what it does as if it's, nothing, and while we're eating lunch or dinner, and it isn't really. It is nothing. I mean, it doesn't. I can talk about it without, getting emotionally involved. Um, but I'm speaking with yourself, who is not, and that's why I was kind of reluctant to bring it up, because I didn't know if, this was gonna bring up, open new old wounds or whatever. But it's just so curious. I did the same thing with my friend Tim. I mentioned him, that took his life basically the same way, put a gun in his mouth. And I got to read his autopsy results, and with his mom, sat with his mom and his brother, older brother. After, I was his high school best friend. He was my shotgun in my car. He didn't get a car or a license until he was like 21 years old. Whatever reason it was, it just was, he didn't. And so he always rode with me. He was my shotgun, he was my passenger. And yeah, to hear, that he was found in his car with a gunshot wound, in his mouth and out the back of his head. Same thing as that caller went on. Was like, I couldn't imagine. I was trying to think with him, like, wait a minute, Tim and I used to spend time together all the time. Although he was older with a family and children when this happened. So, I lost touch with him, you know, being, side by side with him after high school. But yeah, even people, even people that put bullets through their head, they end up physically surviving that. Do they live a productive life? No, but it's hard to kill somebody. It really is. I was taught that in paramedic school. My preceptor used to tell me that. And then I realized, through practical experience and seeing it, that it's hard to kill someone. You can, but even putting a bullet in your brain doesn't necessarily kill you. It just makes you a vegetable. Or even some people survive ballistic injuries to the head, and they end up a stroke patient, where they've got limited, or now, limited function or compromised function of their, of their body. but they're still alive, and or putting a bullet in your chest, that's not going to kill you unless you hit an artery and you bled out inside, or it was left untreated and you ended up suffocating because you couldn't breathe because your lung collapsed from the bullet. But if you put a bullet through your heart, now that's going to be hard to survive. And how often does a bullet actually hit the heart? You know, so again, it's hard to kill someone. You can cut their leg off. You can cut their arm off. You see, and there's arteries involved in amputations. You're cutting through everything. So, but people survive those. So again, just because you cut the artery doesn't mean you're going to die. Those arteries take care of themselves a lot of the times. They retract inside the body and they bleed, but that bleeding creates a giant hematoma inside the body and starts putting pressure inside that contained space. And then it seals itself and stops the hemorrhaging. Not always, but I'm just saying, those are instances where the body takes care of itself. So they end up surviving without an arm, but oh, you're back. Spicy. There, I see the word now. I'll call you Spicy. Hey, ladies, gentlemen, this would be a good time. I'm looking, it's like almost straight up 9. Actually, it is on my phone. 9 o'clock. I'm gonna take off and hit the rack at 9 o'clock in the morning and go take my contacts out because I'm starting to feel that burning in my left eye again. And I just healed up from that for the last 3 days, wearing my eyeglasses instead. You don't like this live. No, you're good. I still see 6 people. Oh, there's 3 people in there. But that was yeah, it ended on a good note. We I got to share some paramedic calls and the word of God and the military, you see? Woo! Those 3 things always seem to go hand in hand. One kind of leads to another and leads to another. So pretty cool. And then the audience like yourself, gets to relate and tell your own stories and your own experiences, et cetera, et cetera. Amongst the trolls that leave their comments, they're inserted in there along amidst the rhetoric. So thank you, people. Oh my gosh, I'm yawning way too much. Good night, Patricia. Good night, the rest of you guys. Thanks again for the new people that came in, the fellow veterans, Marines, the rest of you. Here, let me scroll back and just mention by name. Oh, Spicy Glacier. Oh, I didn't see you. Are you uncut? It's got to be a gay man. Let's see here. Sirinath Badri. Um, Boston. Oh yeah, forgot about you. Yeah, Mr. Boston, you made a comment about dialysis patients. My best advice to you is find a better profession because being an EMT is very depressing. You have to deal with lots of dialysis patients all the time. That's the truth. Yeah, you know what? And you see, and I'm not the only one. Um, Dialysis patients are, it's a good experience if you've never experienced somebody that goes through dialysis on a prolonged, chronic dialysis patients. It's sad, but at the same time, at first you realize you start to learn like the effects of a treatment, uh, the physical effects it has on people, and most of the time it's up here on dialysis patients. They're very depressed. It's very common that they're depressed and down and out and or angry or just are fed up with it, don't want to do it anymore. And I always attributed it to, I guess I would feel the same way also if all the essence was drained out of me, on a ongoing basis, 3 times a week or however often they get dialyzed. You're literally being hooked up to a machine that takes all the blood out of your body, circulates it through a machine and cleans it, and then reintroduces it back into your body via these shunts that are put in your arm. And they literally just access those shunts, which is to an artery. Is it an artery or a vein or both? Anyways, maybe both. Whatever. And yeah, if I had my blood, your entire blood volume taken out of your body and reintroduced back into it on an ongoing basis, sitting there on a machine for however long those dialysis treatments take, I'd feel pretty shitty too. I mean, that just doesn't sound comfortable. What is that like? To have all your blood, well, you're not like losing it all at once, but you're having it taken out and put back in, taken out, put back in, taken out, put back in. And and they look, they're typically jaundiced. They got that kind of yellow hue about them, and it's really sad. Anyways, I thought I was done, and here I am back on. All right, Patricia. Talk to you soon, I'm sure. Good night. Good night, everybody. Spicy. Later, bro. And anybody else that's still hanging out there. Thank you. Thank you. Maraming salamat, as it is said in Tagalog to the Filipino community out there. As you were. See ya.